Today we're going to do some quick notes on scatterplots and do a little introduction with that. You need your notes, a pen or pencil, and a highlighter. If you don't have those, go ahead and get them. Remember, you can always pause the video, you can rewind, you can replay, anything that you need. So we're going to start at the top. A scatterplot is a graph that shows a relationship between two sets of data. So a scatterplot is a graph that shows a relationship between two sets of data. And there is a fancy big kid word for this. It is called bivariate data. Bivariate data. That means bi, like a bicycle has two wheels, bi means two. So if you will highlight that right there, it's a pretty important word. So we've talked about scatterplots before, closer to the beginning of the year. Scatterplots can have a linear trend. They can have a non-linear trend. Or they can have no trend. The word trend can also be called association or correlation. So you could say a linear association or a linear correlation. So you have three pictures of scatterplots here. Scatterplots are the kind of graphs that just have the little data points all over them. This first one here, you can kind of see that the data is forming the general path of a line. So this has a linear trend. This one here, I know it's kind of hard to see on my graph, but you can look on yours. It goes down and then up and then down again. This does have a pattern. It follows a relationship, but it's not linear. Linear means one straight line. So this has a non-linear trend. And then this last one over here is no trend at all. It is comparing shoe size to your IQ. So that has nothing in common. The first one was temperature comparing to money. So as the temperature increased, the money increased. The second one that was non-linear was talking about days and changes in stock price. So your stock price goes up and down, so that's why that one would be non-linear. Underneath that, if a scatterplot is a linear relationship, or if it represents a linear relationship, it will have either a positive or a negative trend, or a negative correlation association. So there's two examples here. You can see this one, the data is kind of linear looking, and it is going up, so this is a positive trend. And then this one here, the data is going down, so this is a negative trend. I do want you to go back and highlight a few words. I want you to highlight linear trend, non-linear trend, and no trend. And then down here, highlight positive or negative trend. Okay, then we can go to the inside of a note. On the inside, we get into a few more details. So it says a trend line or a line of best fit is a linear function that best represents the data. So this is going to be where we draw a line through the data to kind of show what's happening. I want you to highlight trend line and line of best fit. Your trend line should be drawn as close as possible to the points. There should be about as many points above the trend line as below it. So highlight that line right there. So then underneath here we have a scatter plot 3 different times, and it says which line of best fit is correct. So we have all 3 of these graphs. It's the same data, but with 3 different lines drawn through it. So we're going to look through the first one. Here's your data. Your graph is kind of in a linear way going down, but your line here is going up. So this one does not represent the data well. The data is showing negative, but the line is showing positive. So that one's not going to be a very good fit. The next one, so here's your data. It's going down, same thing. This line is going down, but it's not necessarily going through the data very well. So this one does not represent the data well. It says the same thing, that they're both negative, but the line is not close to very many points. It's kind of using these 2 points here when most of the data is here. So the last one, the line does represent the data well. It shows a negative association and is close to many points. Then it says the number of points above and below are approximately the same. If you were to kind of count the number of points below, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so it's approximately pretty close. So this is an example of a trend line that, or a line of best fit that is representing the data pretty well. So I want you to circle that or put a cloud around it. That's what you're going to be looking for. Okay, and on the last page, we have just a couple of vocabulary words we want to talk about. The first one is an outlier. So outlier are data pieces that are kind of way far away from the group. So with your highlighter, you will highlight this point and this point. They're far out there. They're not really with the rest of the group. Then there's another graph here. You've got your data here, and then this point up here is kind of an outlier. It's further away from the group. Okay, the next word is called cluster or a group. So this is when your data is grouped together. So right here and right here, this is the same graph from the one above. You have two clusters. And then I found another example for you. There's kind of 3 different sets of clusters here. And then the last one is a gap. A gap is when there's a space between your data. Nothing occurs. So on this same graph here, there is a gap between about 3 and 6.5. There's no data. So then there's another one here. This is Old Faithful. So between about here and here, you have a gap in your data. So it looks like maybe about 2.75 minutes to 3.5 minutes. You don't have any data in that area. Okay, that is it.